You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast, and this is show number 310 for Monday the 13th of April 2020.
Where dreams begin.
Well, hello and welcome, and with me today I have the very lovely David Maruca. Hello.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. For what's going on in the world, I'm doing quite well.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on the show to talk a little bit about your Disney life because you managed to sneak in a very quick trip before it actually closed all down.
Yeah, I was really lucky. My daughter was finishing up school, and her plan was for spring break, she was going to shoot down and spend a couple days at Disney and then come home to Connecticut. I wasn't going to actually be able to go, and with everything going on, my plans here got canceled, so I found a quick flight and flew down and joined her for the weekend. I helped drive her home. Worked out in my favor.
Well, before we leap into that head first, let's just share with everybody a little bit about your Disney. Like, when did you first go to the park? Which park did you go to? What's your normal sort of Disney visiting vibe like?
Now, are you talking in my whole life or just this particular trip?
Yeah, let's start at the beginning, because not everybody found Disney as a child.
I actually went for the first time, I want to say 1975, 76. Yeah, it was real early. My parents were divorced when I was like 2, and my mother took me to Disney World for my birthday. I want to say 5 or 6, and we fell in love with it, and we went every year after that. And probably until I was about, maybe 13, 14, I became a teenager, and then I was a little too cool for Disney. That was, for kids. And I think I had stopped going for a little while. And then it was probably like 88, 89 when MGM Studios opened up, and I went back and I just fell in love with it again. And I've been going ever since. Yeah, it's crazy how much of my life revolves around Disney now. Trying to think how I Disney.
Do you tend to go for a short break or a long break?
Well, yes, I tend to go with an annual pass. I try to go as often as I can. Like, so I'll do little quick weekends. I don't usually get like a 2-week visit in. I never really have that kind of time. Mm-hmm. But I love doing little quick trips, and they're usually not planned. I usually just sort of, hey, there's a 3-day weekend. Hey, let's go to Disney. And having been there so many times, I don't need to get in every ride or everything that's going on. I try to hit the newest things I haven't done before. There's always those, Pirates, Spaceship Earth, certain ones, you go on them. Doesn't matter, what else is going on. You have to hit those certain rides. So yeah, that's kind of, how I normally end up down there.
So what about your family? Have you introduced them and shared your love of Disney with them, or do they just sort of tolerate it because Dad loves it?
No, my daughter went for the first time when she was 2, and I think she's probably gone every year since then. She's 20 now. I have twin boys that are 18, and they still, amazingly, as teenage boys, still want to go with me to Disney World. They love it. And it's funny because this past time that I took them, they were old enough to kind of go on their own. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll meet you here, I'll meet you there. And inevitably, they always ended up coming back, and we all ended up actually hanging out the whole time. Even though they had their freedom to go wherever they wanted to go, they always seemed to come right back to the family group. So that was kind of, it's kind of nice that they, have bonded with me on this.
Now, you own DVC, and that opens up a lot of windows and doors for you to be able to try out a wide range of Disney properties. Where would you say your most favourite resort is?
That's a tough one. There's so many good ones. My home resort is Saratoga. And it's funny, that's actually probably my least favorite. But it's what was available when we bought in. But this past time we stayed at Old Key West, which is, the first DVC, and that's still great. Obviously, any of the ones that are on the monorail line, Polynesian, Contemporary. I will say I didn't love staying at the Grand Floridian. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the best experience there, which is kind of funny because you would think that would be the one. But I had a much better time at the Polynesian or at the Contemporary. And I actually kind of like the other resorts, just the theming. So like every one has its own little unique things. So it's kind of hard to pick a favorite. I kind of like them all.
Okay, that sounds good. So far then, I'm taking you've only ever ventured to Walt Disney World.
Actually, I have been to Disneyland Paris. That was just a couple of years ago. I took my wife there for her 50th birthday. So that was a special trip. But other than that, you would think, having gone to Disney World since the 70s, you'd think I would have made it to Disneyland in California. But nope, Disneyland Paris is the only other one that I've made it to. And I loved it.
We have our fingers crossed that our paths will cross this year for a special trip for you over to Disneyland where I can get to show you around a little bit.
That would be awesome. I can't wait to get out there. I don't know why it's taken me this long.
I think once you've been, you'll love it because it is, to me, quintessentially Walt Disney's park, and there are things there that you won't find in the Walt Disney World that are just so wonderfully perfect.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm actually kind of afraid that I'm going to go and fall in love with it, and it's going to put a little strain on my wallet wanting to go back.
Well, that's the thing with any Disney park. It's always calling you back and saying, visit, come and see, we've something new.
Exactly. And then with the Marvel land opening up, I can't get Marvel here in Florida, so I'm going to have to keep going back to California.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite. I can't wait to see that.
You've shared a pretty impressive collection of Marvel-based masks and things as well. So I know you're a bit of a collector. So is a lot of your collection based around Marvel?
Well, it's kind of funny because as a kid, I said before, my parents had split up when I was young. What I would do with my father, he would go on the weekends that I would spend with him, we would go and get comics, and he would read me comic books. And I fell in love with Spider-Man way back when. Then 75, 76, I fell in love with the parks at Disney. Well, 77, Star Wars was released, and I fell in love with that. And now here I am as an adult, and all of them are wrapped together. And so all my loves are kind of, I can find them in one place now. So yes, I have been a collector my whole life. Marvel, Star Wars, Disney parks, pretty much anything I can get my hands on.
Perfect. Right, let's get back to that trip then. Now, we all know a little bit about you and what you like. So you took a flight down. Where did you stay and how did you feel your first day?
Well, I got there late Friday night, had to work, and I got the Magical Express. And amazingly enough, I was the only person on it. So that was kind of nice. Had my own private motor coach. Took me over to Old Key West. Got in around 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So, right to bed, nothing then. So I got up the next morning and headed straight over to, we actually did Topolino's Terrace for breakfast.
Oh, let's just pause there. I need to know everything about this place.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's so beautiful. There's, well, obviously it's the terrace, so it's the top of the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And the views up there are absolutely gorgeous. You can go out. There's a balcony out there. You can go out, take pictures. You can see over to Hollywood. I almost called it MGM Studios, which I do all the time. But you can see over to Hollywood Studios. Basically, it's the Skyliner. It's that line. You can see right down the road, Caribbean Beach right next door. So the views are just breathtaking. And then inside, the food is fabulous.
Now, this is a character breakfast, isn't it?
It is. And they're adorable costumes. They got Mickey is a painter. Donald was a sculptor. Daisy, I think, was a dancer, and Minnie's just her usual fashionista self. So their costumes are great. And actually, one little thing I found, we actually had a little bit later reservation towards the end, so maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. And I found the restaurant started to empty out as we were getting in there, and the characters actually spent a little more time with us because the tables weren't as full. So they didn't have to be pulled away to the next spot. So you got a little more time with them, going a little later on the reservation. So that was kind of nice.
Now, I've pulled up the menu.
Mm-hmm.
$42, and you get do you get something to share at the beginning, some pastries?
Yes, you get this pastry dish comes out. It's got croissants, chocolate chip muffins, and there's like a small French bread in there. Oh, they could have put that down. I ate that, and I was good. I could have left. Didn't need to eat anything else because that was just delicious. And they give you a couple of dips. There's some jam, chocolate hazelnut spread, and I think it was honey butter. And the honey butter on that bread was so delicious.
Let's just talk for a moment or two about the entrees and what did you have?
Okay, I had the spice sausage hash. So I debated between that and there was also a steak dish, but I opted for the hash, and it was delicious. There's an English muffin, then there's the hash. They put an egg on top as well, but I'm not an egg fan, so I opted to have the egg off, and I had a side of bacon they gave me in place of that. So it was really good, really good.
Quite an extensive menu then, because you've mentioned about the steak, and then they have a quiche gruyere, a waffle, smoked salmon, fruit, a croissant with ham. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, the options, I was really surprised for the price, what they were offering. Actually, when I first went up, I was kind of hoping they'd have a chicken and waffles so I could take a picture and send it to you. But no chicken and waffles there. So my friend Donna, that you've met,
yeah,
she actually was with us. They do a waffle, sour cream waffle, but she really wanted Mickey waffles. So they said no problem. They opted out because they have, I guess, Mickey waffles on a stick for the children.
Yeah.
And they said no problem. And they asked her, do you want them on the stick? And she opted without the stick. So they gave her just the 3 Mickey waffles instead of one big waffle that wasn't shaped like Mickey, because of course everything tastes better when it's shaped like Mickey, and she loved that.
That's brilliant. That's $42, and for me, the food sounds amazing. The setting, the characters, because they're unique, and I gather you can get a wide range of breakfast drinks and alcohol as well. Yep,
full menu, or drinks as well. I thought for $42, it was probably one of the best meals character meals I had. I know a lot of the character meals do buffets or things like that. This was definitely worth the $42.
Yeah. If we hop back to show 308, we had Becky Mannion as our guest, and she was talking through 3 different brunches or breakfasts that she'd done. And a similar price point was the Bon Voyage breakfast with Rapunzel and Prince Eric and Ariel and Flynn Rider. And the food that you've just described sounds so much better.
Right. Yeah. No, it was pretty impressive, the menu that they offered for that price, on Disney property.
Perfect. And it's a different place at a different hotel that you can go check out and enjoy. Yeah.
Like I said, the hotel is beautiful, and they actually, right there is a Skyliner stop. Mm-hmm. So when you head to the Skyliner, you actually walk through, there's an archway, and they've done 2 murals. And I want to say maybe they're 20 feet high, maybe a little higher, but the murals wrap all the way up the wall, across the ceiling, and back down the other side. So as you go through, you've got, I think it's Rapunzel was first, and it's the lanterns floating up, and the lanterns float across the top. And then there's Rapunzel's tower on the other side. And then the next mural is Peter Pan. So you've got Big Ben with the pixie dust twirling away, and there's silhouettes going across the top, and you end up on the other side is the mural of Neverland. So, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Well worth a visit, even if you don't go for breakfast then.
Yeah, definitely, just to check the place out. And then you can hop on the Skyliner and you're right over to the studios.
Is that what you did?
That's what I did. Had to hit the studios on this trip. I was really only on the ground for 48 hours. I mean, I had 2 days. That was it. So I had to make sure I got onto Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and I was going to try my hardest to get onto Rise of the Resistance. So that was my goal for the weekend.
Tell us a little bit about the railway.
Oh, it's impressive. It really is amazing. When they say it's like 2.5D, it's kind of a 3D without the glasses. The way the projections, the way things change as you're going through. I don't want to spoil anything, so it is worth the trip. It is definitely worth it.
So excited to see it. I really can't wait.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because you go in, you're going into the Chinese theater, which we all know and love for the great movie ride. And as you go in, you get the vibe, you get the feel, you're in that space again. You can kind of, where the cases were that held the ruby slippers and, the different costumes that were on display and things as you queued. And that room is still sort of there. And then as you go further in, it changes and it just becomes a completely new experience. So it's impressive.
Fabulous. How else did you spend your Hollywood Studios day?
I think we were only there for a few hours, and it was funny because we went in thinking the lines were going to be huge for the ride, and it turned out the ride had gone down about a half an hour before we got there. So a lot of people got out of line. So as we walked in, there was a line, but not huge. It was just outside the doors. And we said, let's just wait. We have nothing else we're really doing right now. Let's just wait. And as soon as we got in line, the ride came back up. And we waited maybe 40 minutes to get on.
Wow.
Which was just, happened to be perfect timing. We just lucked out, really.
Where did you head after that?
After that, we hit a few other things. I think we did Star Tours. What else did we hit? I can't even remember now. But my daughter had a fast pass for a Rock and Roller Coaster. She went over there and did that. I waited for her. And then it was we just walked around a little bit and said, let's head to Magic Kingdom. Now, the only reason I did that is because we didn't do the rope drop to get on to Rise of the Resistance. So I didn't even bother going into Galaxy's Edge at that point. I knew I was going to try for rope drop the next day. And I said, I'll just spend my time there. Having limited time, I wanted to make sure I got to Magic Kingdom. So off we went. We grabbed the bus and headed to Magic Kingdom.
So what drew you in at the Magic Kingdom? What rides did you go and visit?
What did we hit? We got Peter Pan, Pirates. Unfortunately, the People Mover was down. And also Haunted Mansion was also down. So I was kind of bummed about those. Big Thunder Mountain. Sorry, all of a sudden I had a blank there. Big Thunder Mountain, Mine Train, and what was the other one we hit? I can't even remember. Oh, we went to Carousel of Progress.
Oh, perfect.
Needed a little break, so we went and sat and relaxed in the carousel. So then that's always one of those, you kind of, I know a lot of people find it boring or whatever, but to me, it's just classic Disney, and you got to ride it or enjoy it.
Now, I'm sure at some point the Hunger Monster would have been roaring. So what else did you manage to have to eat at the Magic Kingdom?
Magic Kingdom, we were doing the dessert party that night. So the way the timing fell, honestly, I was so full from breakfast that I didn't really need to eat again. It was probably 2 or 3 in the afternoon by the time I was hungry again. So I think we just ran into Cosmic Rays, and we just got a couple of simple things, some nuggets to pick on, and I think there was a burger there. So we all just kind of shared some food there. Knowing that we were going to the dessert party, we didn't want to fill up again that close to it. So just some quick, picky food.
So let's talk about this dessert party. Which one did you go to? Because there's a few different options.
Yeah, this was the Tomorrowland Terrace viewing area. It was $99 and included alcohol and so many different little bite-sized desserts. I am a diabetic, and I also don't drink. So this was sort of like, okay, why am I doing this? But it was, I always feel like everything, you should try everything at least once. And so I injected a little extra insulin before this party and went in and had a fabulous viewing area. And actually towards the end of the party, I didn't realize, I always knew Tinkerbell flew from the castle to the Tomorrowland Terrace area. And I didn't know that she would fly right over my head. And so as I'm with my camera filming her flying over, she waves and blows a kiss. And I was like, okay, that was worth the $99 right there. Didn't matter if I ate or drank anything.
Absolute perfect view. Oh, what a magical way to end off the evening.
Yeah, definitely. But it was kind of weird too, because with the dessert party, there's this whole row. You've got an ice cream bar area, there's cookies, there's cupcakes, all kinds of little cookie dough bites and cheesecake bites, and so many wonderful little things. And then at the very last thing was just a section of steak egg rolls, which I thought was kind of strange. Like, I appreciated it because being a diabetic, I was trying not to eat so much sugar. So there was something there for me to eat, but it was just such an odd little thing at the end of the row.
How bizarre! But at least you got something to suit your palate.
Exactly. And if you do, if you like to partake in the little adult beverage, it was great. They had a little bar area there for you. The other thing that being a diabetic was tough was all the beverages were pretty much high sugar. lots of juices. So I pretty much drank water, which again kind of made me think, was it worth the money? There wasn't soda available. Like I couldn't get a Diet Coke. It was all fruit punch or fruit juices, I should say. And so that was a little tricky for me as well. So I had to go easy on what I was ingesting.
That's a weird thing for them to do, because normally you'd have thought they would have had some sodas and things like that available.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I had asked, they probably would have come up with something. But I was fine with water. It was fine. And like I said, Tinkerbell flying overhead was worth it.
So I'm gathering, with you saying the next day you were going to Galaxy's Edge, did you get an early night?
Actually, I don't know if it was. I was probably in bed by 11. That was the plan, was an early night. But I was probably in bed by 11:30. Getting up at 5:30 was not too bad. I got a few hours of sleep, so that was fine. But yes, we got up early. Had to get there for rope drop, because if you're not there, you're not getting on the ride.
High anxiety stakes.
And that being my last day, I was like, I've got to get on, because if I don't do it today, that's it. I'm going to have to wait, and who knows when this is going to be around again. The other problem there was we had, being our last day, I also had to pack and get everything into the car out of the hotel room. So it wasn't just get up, jump in the shower, and let's hit the road. It was get up, pack everything in the room, do that whole, mess that it can be.
So what time did you end up getting to the park for?
Well, we were shooting to get there for 6:30, and we ended up getting there just after 7. We actually had an issue with the Lyft driver. I guess when you put in the Hollywood Studios as an address, I guess there's 4 different addresses, and I selected one that was an ATM machine somewhere in Hollywood Studios. Why that has an address, I don't know. My Lyft driver, being 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever, he wasn't really paying attention, so he was just going where the phone was telling him to go. And he started driving into this street and realized he probably shouldn't be on this street. And he said, "Are you guys trying to go to the park?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, we are in the wrong place." He immediately turned us around. So here in my mind, I'm stressing, because I'm like, I needed to be there at 6:30. It's now almost 7. Time's a wasting. But he got us there within minutes of that. And we got out, went through security, which went pretty quick. And they hadn't even actually started letting people through the turnstiles when we walked up. So it was fine. We were a little further back in line than I wanted to be, but it was fine. Waited till maybe 7:30, and they opened the gates. Everyone started going in. And we immediately walked right back down and got in line again for Runaway Railway. I said, we're here. We might as well, if we're going to stand on the street, wait to, use our phones to join a boarding group, we might as well get in line. And nothing else in the park was open, so that was what we did. We queued for Mickey and Minnie.
So what boarding group did you manage to get?
8 o'clock, they opened it up, and we ended up at boarding group 62. So not too bad. So we knew we had a few hours that we had to kill before we were going to get on, but that was fine. Rode Mickey and Minnie again. That was the time we did Star Tours before that, and then we headed into Galaxy's Edge. Walked around there a little bit. I wanted to try one of those Ronto wraps, and that was pretty tasty. For the price, I don't know if I would go to it every time.
Yeah,
I think that's one of those. Okay, I'll try it every once in a while. I'll get one. It was good, and then we just sort of hung around a little bit until it was our time.
So talk to me a little bit about Galaxy's Edge itself. What did you think to the theming?
Oh, I think the theming is amazing. I actually went down earlier when it first opened. I was there for pass holder previews, and that was great, because the crowds weren't nearly what they are now. I kind of felt like I needed a little something else to do, because at that time Rise wasn't open. So once you did the Millennium Falcon ride, if you didn't want to spend $100 on a droid or $100 on a lightsaber, it was kind of limiting. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's beautiful. You walk around and you can take a million pictures. I mean, you've got the characters walking around, you have the ships you can take pictures in front of, but that was about it. And having been a Star Wars fan since, I was a young child, I couldn't wait to get there. And I don't know if I just overhyped myself or, so I kind of think I did it to myself. I mean, once I saw it, I was kind of like, all right, I'm good. I saw it. Because like I said, there wasn't a lot to do except for shop, eat, or, the one ride. I think people going now are going to have a much better experience now that it's, Rise is there.
Mm-hmm.
You can still, the Millennium Falcon. I think it gives you more things to do in the park or in that area. Don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing looking, but I think at first it just needed a little more to do.
And what did you make of the attraction?
Rise of the Resistance is unbelievable. You are in a Star Wars movie. Again, no spoilers, but it's broken up into kind of sections, and each section you kind of go, okay, is this it? This is great. And then you go to another section and it's even better. And you're like, okay, this is wonderful. And then you go to the third section and you're like, oh my God. And you walk off the ride and all you want to do is get back on. It's that good. It's that good. And actually that's what my daughter said. She goes, can we get back on? And I was like, unfortunately, no. Unless you want to come back tomorrow.
And then you had your other plans.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So excited. I know the hubby, he hasn't even seen Galaxy's Edge at all because he wasn't with me in Disneyland when I was there at Christmas. So he's really excited to go and see it.
Oh, he's going to love it. He's going to love it.
Yeah. So how did you feel the rest of your day?
After that, we went over to the Flower and Garden. So we were going to finish the day at Epcot. And I had to do a little shopping there for some friends. And do a little eating, So we made our way around Epcot for a few hours until it was time to go.
And then sadly you had to leave.
Yeah, it was a good day. We by the time we left, it was almost 8:00 at night. I mean, we not only did we hit as many countries as we could. We went Spaceship Earth, Journey into Imagination. We went on Frozen, Three Caballeros, the boat ride. Oh, we got Soarin' in. So, I mean, we had a full day in just those few hours. We really pushed ourselves around. The only thing I will say that helped is the fact that Studios was really the only park that was crowded. Mm-hmm. And again, I think because of Mickey, Toy Story, and Star Wars, you went to Epcot and it was kind of, it was a little on the quiet side. And again, because, everything that's going on in the world, and it was kind of the last day before all the parks were going to close. I think people were really focusing on just Studios. So we got onto quite a few rides in just a few hours, and still was able to eat and get around World Showcase, again, easily.
And another big thing for you on this trip was to have a ride on Spaceship Earth before its closure for its big refurb.
Exactly. I had to go thank the Phoenicians one last time. It had to be done. I don't know if they'll still be there. I'm hoping they will, but...
You just don't know. Well, that sounds an absolutely fabulous trip. For what you managed to squeeze into a weekend, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was really happy. I mean, for only being on the ground for 2 days, we got a lot done. Actually, when we were flying down on Friday, the news came down that Disneyland was closing. I mean, it made sense with what was going on, and with Disneyland being, in Anaheim, like right in the city, it made sense. I was really hoping that Disney World, being kind of separated from everything, was going to have its own, time frame for closing. And I just was able to squeak it out. They stayed open long enough, the whole weekend, and worked out perfectly.
One of the last visitors into Walt Disney World.
Yes. And I mean, a lot of people looked at me like I was out of my mind. And I probably was. I mean, at that point, I was one of those stupid people doing things that I shouldn't be doing. But it wasn't quite at the level it is now. It was just sort of like, is this really happening? Is this really going to be something? And obviously, it turned out to be. But I'm glad I was able to squeak it in.
And I like to thank you for sharing it with us, because it sounded like an absolutely fabulous weekend trip. Oh,
my pleasure, Michelle. I'm glad I was able to give you a little highlight on my weekend.
And for me, that breakfast at Topolino Terrace, I've got to do. Yes, definitely. One thing I found funny there was, in case you missed the gift shop downstairs, they're actually selling the plush of the characters in their costumes at the restaurant. You can actually just ask your waiter for a Mickey, and he'll come around and sign it for you. They're not missing the trick. Disney merchandising at their best.
Absolutely.
Well, let's wrap up the show there. Thank you ever so much for being a guest on this week's show, David. And until our next time...
My pleasure.
It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.